Walk into Asda right now, pick up a pack of sweets from the confectionery aisle, turn it over and scan the ingredients list. There is a good chance you will find E171 listed somewhere in that small print. E171 is titanium dioxide, a whitening agent that makes products look brighter and more appealing. Here is what makes this interesting. The European Union banned this substance from all food products in May 2022. Every single European Union country had to pull items containing it from their shelves. But in the United Kingdom, it is still perfectly legal. Same chemical, same concerns, different rules. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which everyday products still contain this banned ingredient and how to spot it on the shelf in seconds. If this helps you think more clearly about what you buy, give the video a like and subscribe to Consumer Reporter for all the latest United Kingdom consumer news and breaking stories that affect what ends up in your shopping basket. The story begins in Brussels in 2022. The European Food Safety Authority, the organisation responsible for evaluating what is safe to eat across the entire European Union, was conducting a reassessment of titanium dioxide. It had been used in food for decades. It appears in thousands of products, making icings whiter, sweets more vibrant, and sauces more visually appealing. But after reviewing the latest scientific evidence, they reached a conclusion that sent shockwaves through the food industry. They could not rule out genotoxicity concerns. That is the scientific term for potential genetic damage to cells. The key phrase was "could not rule out." They were not saying it definitely causes harm. They were saying they could not prove it was safe anymore. That distinction matters because of how European food safety works. When there is uncertainty about whether something might damage your DNA, the precautionary principle applies. If you cannot prove it is safe, it does not belong in food. The ban came into force in May 2022, and manufacturers across Europe had 6 months to reformulate their products or stop selling them. Major brands scrambled to find alternatives. Supermarket shelves were cleared of products that could not be reformulated in time. It was a massive regulatory shift that affected everything from chewing gum to cake decorations. Then Brexit created something unexpected. The UK Food Standards Agency, now operating independently, looked at the exact same scientific evidence. They reviewed the same studies, they examined the same data about nanoparticles and cellular accumulation, and they considered the same concerns about genotoxicity. But they reached a different conclusion. In their assessment, the evidence did not justify removing titanium dioxide from the UK food supply. They deemed it safe for continued use. No ban, no requirement for manufacturers to reformulate, no mandate to remove products from shelves. This created a regulatory split that runs right down the middle of the English Channel. The same brand of sweets you buy in Asda might have a completely different formulation than the identical product sold in a French supermarket. One contains E171, the other does not. Same packaging, same branding, but different ingredients. British shoppers were now being served a version of products that Europeans were no longer allowed to eat. So where exactly will you find this stuff? Start with cake decorations. Those bright white icing sheets and ready-made decorations for birthday cakes frequently contain E171 because it creates that pure white colour that is hard to achieve naturally. Check the ingredient lists on chewing gum, especially the brands that promise whiter teeth or that have a bright white appearance. Look at certain sweets, particularly the ones with vibrant colours and glossy finishes. White sauces in jars sometimes contain it, along with processed cheese products that need to maintain a consistent white or cream colour. The pattern becomes clear once you start looking. Products marketed to children, items where appearance matters more than taste, and anything that needs to look unnaturally white or bright. These are the categories where E171 still shows up regularly on UK shelves. Parents buying treats for lunchboxes handle these products every week without knowing they contain an ingredient that has been deemed questionable enough to be banned across an entire continent. The science behind this split tells you everything about how different regulators think about risk. Titanium dioxide consists of tiny particles, and when we are talking about the food-grade version, some of these particles are small enough to be classified as nanoparticles. That means they are incredibly tiny, small enough to potentially cross cellular barriers that normally keep foreign substances out of sensitive areas. Animal studies showed something concerning. When laboratory animals consumed titanium dioxide, it accumulated in their organs. The particles did not just pass through, they stayed. The question then becomes, what does that accumulation mean for long-term health? The EU looked at this data and said, "We do not know enough to be comfortable." They applied the precautionary principle. If there is credible concern and incomplete evidence, protect public health first and ask questions later. The UK Food Standards Agency took a different view. They emphasised the lack of definitive evidence of harm in humans, no clear link to disease, no proven mechanism of damage at the levels used in food. The scientific community remains genuinely divided on this, with respected researchers on both sides of the debate. Industry representatives argue about detection methods, questioning whether the particles found in food actually qualify as nanoparticles, and pointing out the difference between theoretical risk and demonstrated harm. What happened next reveals how global food companies actually operate. Some manufacturers made a straightforward business decision. They reformulated their products across all markets, including the UK, even though British regulations did not require it. Maintaining a single formula for all markets is simpler and cheaper than running separate production lines and managing different ingredient sourcing for different regions. Other companies did the exact opposite. They kept E171 in their UK formulations because removing it costs money. Titanium dioxide is cheap. The alternatives that can achieve similar whitening and brightening effects cost more. For products with tight profit margins, that difference matters. Nestlé reformulated some products but not others. Mars did the same. The pattern is not consistent even within the same company, which suggests decisions are being made product by product based on sales volumes and profit calculations rather than any overarching principle. Smaller brands, the ones without the resources to manage complex international reformulations, tend to keep using E171 in the UK simply because it is still legal and changing would hurt their bottom line. This creates a strange situation for anyone trying to make an informed choice. E171 must appear on the ingredients list. That is required by law. But there is no warning attached to it. No label saying this product contains an ingredient banned in the EU. No front of pack notification. No requirement to highlight it the way allergen warnings are highlighted. Most people walking through Asda have no idea what E171 means. Surveys consistently show consumer awareness of E numbers is extremely low. People recognize sugar, salt, and fat. They understand allergen warnings. But tell someone to avoid E171 and they will struggle to find it even when they are actively looking. The labeling rules assume that listing an ingredient is enough, that consumers have the time and knowledge to research every E number on every product they consider buying. The reality is, nobody does that. You grab the sweets, you put them in your basket, you move on. The information is technically available, hidden in plain sight in that tiny ingredient list, but functionally invisible to the vast majority of shoppers. So what does this actually mean when you're standing in the supermarket trying to decide what to buy? The practical reality is this is completely avoidable if you know what you are looking for. Once you learn to spot E171 on ingredient lists, you can choose products that do not contain it. Sometimes that means picking a different brand. Sometimes it means looking for imported versions from the EU, which cannot contain titanium dioxide. The broader context is this is not an isolated case. Post-Brexit regulatory divergence is creating a growing list of differences in food standards between the UK and the EU. Some of these splits favour UK consumers, cases where British regulators move faster or take a different approach that arguably makes more sense. But in this case, you are looking at a substance that European regulators decided to ban, while UK regulators said it is fine. The question is not just about whether titanium dioxide is dangerous. The science remains genuinely uncertain, and reasonable people can disagree about how to interpret incomplete evidence. The question is about informed choice. Do British consumers deserve to know they are eating something that has been removed from European food? Should there be clearer labelling when there is a regulatory split this significant? Right now, UK shoppers are effectively being treated as a separate market for risk, and most have no idea this divergence even exists. Check your cupboards tonight. Look for E171 on products you bought without thinking. The white icing on that birthday cake, the chewing gum in your bag, the sweets you grabbed at the checkout. It has been there all along, listed in plain sight but invisible to anyone who does not know to look. The same products exist without this ingredient, reformulated for European customers while UK versions continue unchanged. You are not powerless here. Every purchase sends a signal. Manufacturers respond to what sells and what sits on shelves. Choose products without E171 and you vote with your wallet while regulations remain split. The information you need is already there, buried in the small print, waiting for shoppers who know what they are looking for. That is the strange reality of food shopping in post-Brexit Britain, where the rules protecting what you eat can be fundamentally different just across the channel, and whether you care about that difference is ultimately a choice only you can make.